What's good? What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another episode of Over the Counter Podcast. We are the Good Brothers of OTC. Man, I hope you've had a good week, good weekend. But, as always, it's always something happening in the markets, always something happening in the financial space, political landscape. So we're going to get right into it. Man, we're going to start off with something that I definitely called last podcast. I'm disappointed because it's always not a good thing to be right, and I hate that I was right on this one. But the Genius Act failed on the Congress floor.
Yep.
It did not receive enough votes to pass and make history, being the first piece of legislature passed specifically for digital assets and stablecoins. I'm peeved. I'm kind of upset because, and I knew this. I knew this was happening. I knew this was going to happen. The Democrats, they was going to play their game because they still feel slighted about the presidency. They feel slighted about losing some seats. You feel me? So they're going to do everything in their power to kind of make Trump's wishes harder and harder to achieve. When in fact, the Genius Act, in my opinion, was one of the most bipartisan pieces of digital asset legislature that has ever came about. So I don't know, man. I hate when people play games, and this is definitely some games being played.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? Senator Mark Warner. It's him amongst the other couple of people that initially supported the bill, but pulled out at the last minute. And now it's like, I don't know, man. We thought that, well, I mean, I guess can't put it on Trump and his administration because they've been trying to put forth pro crypto policy and legislation. But, you know, when you got to pass anything through Congress, it's always going to be it's always gonna be choppy, man. So
Yeah. My thing is what all of a sudden changed at the end for supporting previously supporting Democrats to all of a sudden not support it, which dropped the bill out of contention for passing. It's just games like that that just it's conversations behind closed doors that we'll never be privy to. But little games like that it end up hurting the common folk more than it
well,
hurts them or impacts them. So
what's weird is one notable name that I seen when I was looking it up is Senator Elizabeth Warren. She criticized the bill for lacking adequate protections against political corruption, and then also Senator Mark Warner. He also had issues with some of the language in the bill as well. So
the whole crypto space got beef with Senator Warren. So Senator Warren, out of all due respect, you know, uh, you really don't you really out of your league on this one. John Deaton should have beat you in the Michigan race. So, you know, John Deaton was the crypto hero there. It is what it is on that one. But Senator Warren always has had some type of issue with crypto. She spent the entire Biden administration bashing crypto as being used for terrorism and criminal activity, but cash is still used day to day. You still can't trace cash. Plenty of billions of dollars was being sent to places that we don't know, right? Banking cartels, they manipulate markets behind the scenes, get slapped on the wrist with a small fine compared to how much they made in reality. So if you really want to target criminal activity, target the people that also fund your campaigns. So
yeah, I had two issues with it. Two, well, not really two issues. I had one issue with it. The first being that why are we acting like Senator Warren? She said a lack of adequate protections against political corruption. Why is there no uproar about you know political corruption when it comes to the stock market and when it comes to insider trading and all that? Why is it
right.
why is it such a big issue when it comes to stablecoins and crypto?
That's my thing, picking and choosing. Honestly, bro, like if we being real with you or just with our audience in general, it's all about like crypto really provides the common everyday person true like freedom to with their finances. And like the establishment um, incumbent banks, stuff like that. They really don't like that because then that means that you have options and you have the option to circumvent them from receiving any type of cash from your transactions, any type of revenue from your transactions, right? And the established banking cartel doesn't really like that. Obviously, they're finding ways to get involved now. I mean, because banks can be stable coin issuers, all types of stuff. I mean, obviously, you can run your own financial applications on various blockchains, stuff like that. But beforehand, bro, you heard every major banker talk down on crypto in some way. You heard Jamie Dimon talk about crypto's a scam and Bitcoin is going, the Bitcoin bubble is going to pop and Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. You heard Larry Fink of BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock, said the same thing about Bitcoin. But now the same people that was telling everyday folk on national TV that crypto is this or crypto is that, and you shouldn't allocate any money to it. Those very same people is telling you to jump in.
Yeah, I would say that the old guard is probably not for the type of transparency and accountability that something like stablecoins and crypto will bring about. But then again, when you have all of the major institutions, BlackRock, all these other people adopting it, a lot of major companies starting to adopt crypto, buy crypto, you, you would think that it would be something that would be more willing to move towards. But it seemed like it's only a few. They didn't lose the vote by much. What they need? They need 60 votes.
Yeah.
They got 49. So I mean, you had a couple of Democrats. You also had a couple of Republicans side with them as well. But I think it's only a matter of time because that's not a crazy margin. I think it's only a matter of time as we start to phase, some of these people out that stuff like this will be able to start passing a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, because it's definitely needed. I definitely feel like we had a blow off top moment, and the minute a piece of legislation like a stablecoin bill gets passed, bro, that's like the green light for the whole market. And the market gonna react towards the upside. So, I mean, a lot of these events are also timed, in my opinion. I think we just not quite ready because I mean, think about it. Like a lot of banks, a lot of credit unions, a lot of regional banks, they're gonna have to have infrastructure ready to offer these services to their customers, which I'm pretty sure a lot of them do.
I mean,
But
you already have banks like I'm sure a bank like a SoFi or something like that is ready to get into was probably definitely ready to get into something like a stable coin.
right,
I mean, but I don't know. I think that this just a stable coin bill passing, which is something that shouldn't have been hard to do, something that isn't even that complex when you're talking about crypto. If this is getting, you know, hit by roadblocks, passing through Congress, it's not giving me much bullish outside oversight insight when it comes to other things passing because we haven't even got to some of the other bills that's supposed to be trying to pass through.
right. Yeah, this is the big one. And this is gonna set the tone. So we're gonna see if they make these whatever recommended changes. And if it gets passed easier the next time, I think that'll give us what we need to know as far as how certain legislation will be treated for the rest of this administration. Honestly, um, so yeah, we just got to see, man. We just got to see. But while we in the same vein dealing with government, man, seemed like we finally reached a deal with China related to tariffs,
Yeah,
which would be surprising.
yeah, we had a reduction. The U.S. lowered tariffs on Chinese goods from 145 to 30%. China reduced its tariffs on U.S. imports from 125 to 10%, which is pretty much just a temporary band aid while they continue on with further talks. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction. But I'm still holding my breath because anything could change in regards to this situation. Because I know the markets reacted a little bit, and people got a little excited, but this still isn't a trade deal. This is kind of just them scaling, both sides scaling back to kind of ease the pain a little bit while getting more time to try to work a deal out.
Right. Like this wasn't a real deal. This
Uh,
was just like a 90 another 90-day pause type situation. So yeah, this whole back and forth with tariffs, bro, they just measuring who got the bigger one. That's all. And it's gonna be a minute. Um, Definitely, I feel like it's being used more so as a negotiation tactic versus anything else. I don't think tariffs really are the end goal. I think just kind of evening the playing field when it comes to foreign trade, stuff like that, across the board is the real goal, which can make things a little cheaper uh, for everybody. So we just got to see. Hopefully, they can actually come up with a deal in 90 days, and it not just be like another just situation where they kick the can down the road.
yeah, I think this also proves the point that we talked about a couple of episodes back, in the fact that you know Trump tried to phrase it as if that we don't really need these other countries. We can build stuff here. We can make our own infrastructure. They need us more than we need them. But to drop from what was it, 145 to 125?
Yeah,
What 145 to 30%? The numbers don't lie, man. That's saying that yeah, we kind of need this thing to get moving along. We can't sustain 145%. It's not good for our businesses, it's not good for our supply chains. And China, I think I just can't see. I don't know what kind of deal they're going to reach when Trump wants certain things and China wants certain things. I just don't see which side is going to bend and how they're going to come to some sort of agreement where both sides feel like they won in this thing.
yeah. That's why tariffs are sitting in the middle. I don't like they just using it as negotiation tactics. So whoever hurts the most out of these tariffs, these reciprocal tariffs, I think that's who gonna be in.
I also read a poll today that said 60% of Americans said that they were not willing to pay higher prices in order to manufacture goods in the United States. So that also goes against what Trump has been trying to push, saying that Americans are willing to go through this little period of pain while we go through these trade negotiations, while we build manufacturing here, and the American people are saying something different. So I don't know about that because I mean,
Yeah, I definitely ain't with higher prices. I'll tell you that.
because I mean,
Uh,
we get the trade deal, but what does that mean for? Because he said the end goal was to bring manufacturing over here. So
right.
we get these trade deals. Why would these companies be incentivized to bring manufacturing back to the United States if they're not having to pay 145% and 125% these crazy numbers? They can just go back to business as usual.
I don't know. All these investment deals might have something to do with that outside of tariffs or yeah, outside of tariffs. I think the investment deals into United States infrastructure have a major part to play when it comes to that.
But you even look at a company like Nike, they got hit with certain tariffs, and they said, okay, we're just going to go from China to India. They didn't say, okay, we're going to try to bring some manufacturing back to the United States. And a lot of other companies, I was listening to CNBC this morning, a lot of factories have kind of went into hibernation, and a lot of companies have started to just scale back on their production, on their supply chain, or front load things, or try to find other means of filling that void. I haven't really seen many companies say, okay, we're going to go ahead and invest into American infrastructure. Besides some tech companies, when you're
Yeah.
talking about TSMC and all that, but that was already going on before this went on, so I don't really account that to this.
I mean, this could be a pseudo consumption tax. You still gonna pay higher prices wherever, but it's like you're paying higher prices on items you're willing to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're buying goods like Nike. I mean, why do you need Nikes? Why couldn't you choose Adidas that may be a little cheaper? You buy Nikes because you want Nikes, therefore, because you want Nikes, you're gonna have to pay a little higher. It's a consumption tax.
Yeah.
So we gonna see because if we move more so to consumption tax versus income tax, I'm cool with that.
But then doesn't that go against his whole plan of taxing these other countries in order to sell their good sell their goods here and easing the financial burden of Americans and our government and our companies? Wouldn't that just be still passing along the buck to American consumers?
Not if I removed income tax. If
Well,
if I'm not taxing your paycheck, but for somehow, some way, bills or goods got a little more expensive than what they are now, I don't think people would be tripping like that because I removed income tax.
okay, you remove income tax, and when we're talking about this consumption tax, I don't see them just applying that to leisurely goods. I see that being applied to necessities because that's the only way they can ensure that they get that money back in the rotation.
Yeah, you get taxed on whatever you spend.
So medication, housing, vehicles, childcare, things like that.
I'm pretty sure when it comes to like well vehicles, yes, I can see a consumption tax. For what was the other one that you said? You said
Housing, medication,
medication, I don't expect
childcare.
because he's already going after medical companies for not being able to charge more than your lowest cost country.
Yeah, I did see that.
So there's that. Uh Clothes, probably, especially if they're not made here, which most of them aren't.
Yeah.
Uh Cars, yeah, you better get and if not, you better get something that's made in America because you can get a foreign that the factory is in America
I mean,
if that's what you're going after.
not
You
all.
can get American made
That's the thing.
cars.
Not all components though. Even American made cars, we still getting components from other places. We still getting chips from other places.
Right, but isn't it wasn't the rule that like the final assembly has to be done here?
Is that the case? Are they doing final assembly here?
That's the last that I heard. If they do final, if your car or whatever you're manufacturing, its final assembly is in America, you won't get hit with the tariffs. But if most of the car is assembled somewhere else and then it gets shipped here, you get hit with them tariffs.
Yeah, because I mean, I just got a buddy who bought a Toyota Tundra, and his final assembly was not here. They had to ship his car from I think Mexico or something like that.
Yes, sir.
So, it's like, man,
Yes, sir.
that's just a Toyota.
Right,
So I
right.
mean,
Is Toyota has a nice facility in Dallas.
but see that I think I don't know. I mean, these car companies should be able to do it. Tesla's doing it.
I agree. So I don't see it being difficult, especially with America being a large market for those types of cars. You're not seeing a forerunner riding around in Japan. I'm sorry. You're not seeing no Toyota Tundra, no Tacoma.
None of that.
You're not seeing that over there.
No G.
So why not have the final assembly for those lines in America? Mexico's around is down the street. What's hard about moving that manufacturing to Dallas to the Dallas factory?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to see. It feel like now, like since we got that 90-day pause, I haven't even been hearing of anything from the other countries. It's just been all about China, at least
China,
what the coverage has been about. So I don't even know what the status is when we're talking about a Canada anymore. I don't know what the status is with Mexico. It's just been quieter from some of those other countries. I know we heard about the EU
right?
last, but as far as some of our other major trade partners, I haven't. It's been crickets as far as those guys. So I'm not sure what they're doing on that end.
Yeah, and I think it might be crickets for a minute. in relation to that. I think China's the target for right now, so we gonna stay on China. But yeah, we just got to see when it comes to those tariffs, man. More to come for sure. But I definitely want to spin the block back on the crypto topic because we've seen some crazy mergers in the last couple of weeks of institutional players entering the DeFi space or at least preparing themselves to be a serious contender in the DeFi space. You've had the Centaur Capital. That was a merger between the Trident Financial and Into the Block. So Trident is more on the institutional broker side of things, and then Into the Block, they have a lot of decentralized finance, experience, some clients as well. They build a lot of infrastructure in the crypto space. They merged together to form Centaura. So they basically will be acting as a gateway for institutional players into the DeFi space. They have most of their clients are XRP denominated, which is interesting. Um, and they have billions of XRP on hand. So
Billions?
billions ready to be deployed.
Sheesh.
So it'll be interesting to see how that is occurring. You also see these other firms, centered around buying Bitcoin. People are investing in companies whose whole purpose is just to buy Bitcoin. So that's pretty interesting. Um, but I mean, you have all these institutional players, whether it's you know onboarding institutional money into DeFi, or they already got some bread and they already have some experience with blockchain and crypto, so they're gonna hop in themselves. One thing though that Hugo Fillion, Flare CEO, kind of mentioned in a podcast earlier this week that piqued my interest was they're working with institutional players that they can't really speak about right now, specifically around creating what's called a decentralized prime brokerage, which really piqued my interest. If you remember a few weeks ago, Ripple purchased Hidden Road,
Mhm.
which was like I think a $1.2 billion deal at the time. That was one of the biggest that was the biggest acquisition in the crypto space until the Centaur Capital merger, where they were like $2.2 billion or something like that. So, anyway, Hidden Road is a prime brokerage. It's a traditional finance prime brokerage that Ripple, a crypto company, bought. So obviously, there's some interest with prime brokerages, and the fact that Hugo kind of hinted at them working with institutional players to build a decentralized prime brokerage that really piqued my interest on what all a prime brokerage does. Um, so he kind of gave an example that might be easy for people to chew on. Think about having a leverage position at a firm, um, but you want to use the value of that leverage position elsewhere. Prime brokerages allow you to rehypothecate leverage and several other services. That's just one thing that they let you do. So that to me is like extremely powerful because you can use the value of your assets, the same value of your assets in multiple ways by rehypothecation. And that's currently a thing in traditional finance, but it's not a thing in crypto just yet. Yeah, you can borrow land, but you can't rehypothecate positions in a seamless manner. So I think that'll be pretty interesting. Just as a common example.
My brother, you gonna have to explain what we gonna see what that is, bro. Because you went over my head with I don't even know what that is.
Yo, so rehypothecation is just like reusing assets, reusing the value of that position elsewhere in other opportunities. So like you're basically like double leveraged in a way. And in some ways that's a good thing to do, especially when you want to take advantage of multiple opportunities at once. But it's pretty risky. You got to know what the hell you're doing.
I explain to me this. You were talking a lot about DeFi in the last couple of weeks. For people that may be interested in getting into that lane, that have some of the assets that you can use when it comes to DeFi, what are the real risks that you have to keep in mind when you're thinking about getting into DeFi?
No, there's a lot that you got to keep in mind. DeFi is not something that you just hop into. It's a whole discipline. And depending on your strategy, you may have to babysit your portfolio a little more than you would a traditional finance portfolio. Um, you have to worry about security risks. You have to make sure you're using reputable dApps or applications. Um, you have to be comfortable with managing your assets. Like I said, DeFi it's a real intimate activity with your assets in your portfolio. So you really got to know what you're doing. And it's easy ways to get started. I mean, obviously, with anything, you don't just like jump off the deep end. You kind of start off small, slow and steady with some basic stuff, really get some concepts under your belt. But there's some good habits that you can acquire along the way as you're learning before you start utilizing massive amounts of capital. Um, I recommend people to get started anywhere between like 20 and $100. Like you just need to be able to get used to the mechanics in the beginning versus focusing on earning as much money as possible in terms of passive income or whatever the goal may be.
So when you're talking about actively managing your assets, so this isn't something where you can just put your asset in. This is something a lot more in depth than just like a staking pool or something like that.
I mean, it really just depends on your overall strategy. When it comes to DeFi, there's multiple aspects to DeFi. I mean, there's like borrow lending, there's providing liquidity. Yeah, there are some staking platforms where you can kind of stake and forget it. But those really don't yield the best opportunities. So again, it just depends on what your goals are for your DeFi portfolio that'll determine what you do, what you use, and how you approach it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it can range from setting and forgetting and all the way to where you're looking at you're doing something related to DeFi at least once or twice a day related to your portfolio. So it can range. But
And
yeah,
I know you got your thing going on. Is that something that y'all willing to? Is y'all pushing that everywhere for now? That little thing y'all got
oh
going.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And keep that.
We linked up. Part of my team is doing a DeFi university, if you will. So we put out a free course a week ago that kind of takes you through some of the DeFi basics. Nothing crazy, nothing super complicated. It's more of like mindset related content that's in the free course because it is a mindset that you got to kind of adopt if you want to get serious about DeFi. Think about when you approach DeFi, think about it like a business. You're very calculated. You don't just you know act on emotion. You think about every step. Why you have a purpose, you have a strategy, and you have a plan. Um, but we're also getting ready to create like an alpha program where um, you basically can get like our strategies quite early before they're published. Really help us improve our educational content. We haven't decided if we're going to charge for that or not. Um, there might be some things working behind closed doors that will allow us to make it free. So it'll be super high quality education, super in depth education, but there's potential for it to be kind of sponsored for a period of time to make it free to all participants. So we'll see. More to come on that, but definitely a lot of educational content related to that on the way.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Yeah. But there's a lot going on. It's funny that a lot of people think in order for this stuff to be successful, that retail has to be involved. heavily, but that's not the truth at all. You have institutions like the ones that I mentioned before, Centaur, with access to, either billions of XRP, or their clients have a lot of XRP. There's a lot of institutions with Bitcoin sitting on the sidelines, ETH, all types of blue chip assets. Um, so institutional DeFi interest is at an all-time high. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Definitely something that I would encourage y'all to kind of look into, especially prime brokerages when it comes to both traditional finance and decentralized finance.
Well, yeah, man. DeFi definitely something that I'm about to get into. I got assets, so I just need to put them to work.
Yeah, no, it just takes time to learn. Um, just got to put in the time to learn it. That's all, because it's not that hard. There's tools to track. Um, your liquidity and stuff like that, that will teach you how to use. You can track your positions, that type of stuff. So, it's not just telling you what to do, it's more so teaching you how to kind of go about managing your portfolio in a strategic manner. There's a lot of tools out there that help make it easier, be able to track performance, stuff like that. So yeah, no, it'll be pretty good content to kind of indulge and get your head wrapped around, especially if you want to take DeFi seriously. Because if you do it right, DeFi is a great way to create a passive income stream for sure.
How long y'all been working on this?
The course we've been working on for about like a month or two. Just recording videos, knocking it out, getting a set list for video topics, stuff like that. We've been also working on like other partnerships and trying to network and work the room a little bit to get some sponsors going. Um, and we might have gotten one. So, like I said, more to come on that.
Sound good, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, that's really it, man. I wanted to get into some more nerd stuff, but uh we might want to save that for another day. I think we can probably get more into like these different applications of DeFi maybe next pod, because it's a lot in there. I know DeFi is like an all encompassing term, but people may want to know more about the different aspects of DeFi and what might interest them to even get started. So yeah, we'll say that for next pod.
And for people that, how many people are y'all taking in doing intake for this course? Is it something
Man,
that's
honestly,
availability or
bro, honestly, at first we was only gonna take like 10 people.
limited?
But the wait list grew from like 3 people at the start of the day to I think it's at like 20, 25 right now. So,
Hey, I know
yeah, I don't know.
your boy in at 25, man. I better get right, man.
Yeah, hey,
Better get right.
yeah, it's
Why potentially free or before that thing get out of hand?
boy, because no, I'm honestly surprised at the interest. It's looking at the list, it's a lot of people from different walks of life, which is always a good thing. Um, some names are familiar, others are not so familiar. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what group we can amass, because it's all about teaching. It's not really about the charging aspect, especially with a network like Flare, being pretty early in the game. I think Flare is probably one of the best chains to learn on, especially at this stage. There's an abundance of great content, both free and paid. There's a lot of knowledgeable people in the community. The overall sentiment is to help educate as much as possible. Anyway, but to be part of a group that has that like-mindedness, um, that you can kind of learn along the way, especially and kind of grow with the chain. Because it's only going as TVL, total value locked, grows on Flare. I think we're at 163, 165 million right now. I'm projecting Flair to have a anywhere between 500 million to 700 million TVL by the end of the year. So what does that mean? That means that the activity on the chain is only going to increase, means that there's more opportunity to make income on the chain. And if you're able to kind of learn how some of this stuff works and grow with the activity on the chain, you won't be so lost when it's more popular. Everybody and their mama trying to do it, this, that, and the third. You've kind of been there from a good starting point, got familiar with the toolage, stuff like that, in a solid amount of time, to where by the time you really to make some real money, you're able to do that. You have all the tools, all the knowledge, the mindset necessary to do so.
And one more question when it comes to DeFi for people that are still a little not for certain what it actually is. In order to, go and actually utilize things that they could potentially learn in the course if they go get on the wait list, is there prerequisites to being able to take part in DeFi on these platforms? Meaning, do you have to go buy certain assets? Do you have to do certain things before you're able to utilize these tools?
Of course, you got to have some type of capital ready to deploy to even really get started in DeFi. But there's some crypto basics that you need that are all already available on a lot of people's YouTube channels as well as ours. You need to have basic knowledge around wallets, that type of stuff. You got to be comfortable sending and receiving assets from an exchange. To me, that's like the most basic skills that you already need before you get into any type of DeFi activity. If you don't know how to do that, you do not need to be trying to learn DeFi at the moment. In terms of certain assets, as far as our course goes, our course mainly covers Flare. We do intend on including other chains like Sui, maybe even XRPL, that type of stuff, because there's a lot of DeFi activity, especially on Sui. A lot of money to be made on that. It's a chain that's already kind of up and running. They have like over $1 billion in TVL, so a lot of activity, a lot of money being made by people who hold a lot of Sui. So that's kind of where we're gauging Flare to be at one day. Hopefully sometime soon. But like I said, Flare is probably one of the easiest chains to learn DeFi on. And then we'll offer other networks in the future, like ETH, Sui, XRPL, Flare.
Yeah, I have, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's worth it though. It's definitely worth the time in my opinion.
Hey, man.
So yeah, with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and call it. Don't want to bore y'all too much with bunch of DeFi talk. We have plenty of episodes left to kind of get into the different aspects of DeFi, just to kind of give like an overview of it for educational purposes. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, with that being said, man, any final words for the episode?
Uh, nah, man. I mean, everybody's y'all portfolio should be looking okay.
Right. I'm
And
good.
stocks have started to come back and reach, some previous highs, get back in equilibrium. I know crypto should be doing well. Bitcoin is starting to race up again, which means everything else is starting to get some residual. So I think the overall sentiment of stock market crypto is okay right now. Things are starting to recalibrate in the market. So other than that, man, just I hope y'all was buying when you had the
When it was low,
opportunity
hey,
to buying.
because that was a blessing. Too many people was wanting instead of cashing in. So
But it ain't too late
it
though.
is what it is. It ain't too late. Nah, it's never too late.
We ain't had a run up yet. This
Nah, we haven't.
getting back to we just shaking back. We ain't had a run yet,
Yeah.
So and that'll probably come once we get some more clarity on these trade deals and more legislation as far as crypto is concerned and all that type of stuff. So y'all still got a little bit of time, but it ain't as sweet as it was a couple of months ago.
Nah. Nah. But I mean, depend on your appetite. It's some good stuff out there, man. It's definitely some good stuff out there. So pay attention. Um, don't sleep, man, because you're like, nah, I'm gonna wait, and then the opportunity it leaves you because you didn't pull the trigger. So don't be don't be gun shy.
Nope. Dollar cost average if you got to, man. Get started today.
Yeah, yeah. But with that being said, man, we'll see y'all on the next one.
See y'all later.
Peace.